So, oh, where is my GPA? There was a booklet right here. Yes. Oh. I just need to write. That's like what I thought for it's heard of it. So he was like, I mean. He and I first say that I actually I'll be able to.
I didn't say thank you.
Maybe I get. First was public. Not the public. My glasses. Very corny. That's the first time.
You like flower? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Bring the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. We'd like to establish a quorum. Roll call.
Here.
Finity.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
Christie. Here. Diane. Here. All five of us are here. Can you please stand for the pledge of allegiance?
I'll pass on that one.
Yeah, that's okay. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment. At this time, any person may address the board on on open item issues within the subject matter in jurisdiction of the board. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the board will take no action or have discussion on any items not appearing on the posted agenda except as authorized by law. The board may ask clarifying questions or make statements regarding the input when all speakers have concluded. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes per individual for a total of no longer than 20 minutes per topic. Speakers shall state their first and last name at the start of their input. The speaker shall not be interrupted by either the public or the board, except reminders to adhere to board policy on public comment. While providing input regarding employees, policies, procedures, services, or actions, the public shall refrain from using personal identifying information. In the case of public criticism of district employees, the board president or school administrators shall inform the component of the appropriate complaint procedure. Is there any public comment?
I just, sorry, do I stand out?
Either way.
It just at least make sure so that it gets recorded. Just talk, project a little bit.
Okay.
Pretend you're in kindergarten.
Okay, so, I just wanted to, and I think that you guys have probably already been made aware, but yesterday I guess I'm representing the school site council in Columbus. And yesterday we had 2 members of Calaveras Council of Government, COG, come visit us and ask for our input and support. They have found some grant money and it's a sustainable communities grant. And so they're reaching out to different stakeholders in the community and just get our input. And they thought that Copropolis would be a good place to find, to put in some public, well, let's see, they had everything from sidewalks to crosswalks to just safety with getting to and from school. So some of our concerns we told them were just safety with drop off and pick up, because sometimes the car lane will get down over in Ferry and can cause some concerns just with community members. And so they are asking for us to and they're going to send us an email template so that we can say that we support them in reaching out and applying for these grants. And so with School Site Council in Copperopolis, we are in support of it. And so I'm here just basically asking you guys if you guys would support that. And when we get the email template, if we can send it to you and hopefully support that as well. And they're the ones that did just recently in Angels Camp, all of the sidewalks. They're the ones that got that funding for all of that. So they got the funding for that, and then what happened, from what my understanding is that they, so it doesn't cost us anything, and they write the grant and apply, or they apply for the grant, and Angels Camp, they got the funding for the sidewalks, and then Caltrans came in and they picked up the rest. They said, we'll just fund the rest.
Nice.
When you ask for support, what are you specifically needing from us?
I think it's just,
Letters of
A
support,
letter.
so they would like each board member to write a letter, as well as myself, as well as the site council, so that they see that it's a unified letter, that it's multiple people and the number. So if you just sent one as a board member supporting that, even though you collectively need to decide to support it as a group, you don't need to actually take action on it. Just that when they come, you are willing as a board member in your role of board member to say, yes, I support this.
What kind of deadline are we looking up for such letters?
yeah, it's fairly
It's
soon.
it's of the 8th. It has to be done by.
Thank you.
So I know they reached out and said that they're getting those templates for us right now.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Do we need
And then the
any
other
further
thing I
discussion?
just wanted to say is I wanted to throw my name in there if there's any kind of committee for hiring the next superintendent, I would like to be, I'd like to come in.
Thank you. Okay. Board of action taken in closed session. Conference with labor negotiator, name of agency negotiator, Paula Wyatt, employee organization, California School Employee Association, chapter 815. No action was taken. Conference with labor negotiator, name of agency negotiator, Paula Wyatt, employee organization, unrepresented groups, no action taken. Conference with labor negotiator, name of agency negotiator, Paula Wyatt, employee organization, ACE, Angels Copper Educators, no action taken. Public employee dismissal, release. A resolution 2022.23.07 release of classified probationary employee was approved by the board. Motion made by Timothy, seconded by Jennifer with a 5-0 status. Personnel assignment order. Okay, employee 101262 accepts a position of number 1066.0 or 0.6, 1066.0 hour paraeducator at MTE effective December 12, 2022. Employee 100128 accepts certificated substitute employee position as Title I teacher for Copper effective January 3rd, 2023. Employee 101239 accepts certificated substitute employee position as 0.60 FTE elementary teacher job share position number 6. Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays at MTE effective January 3rd, 2023. Employee 101214 transfers from position number 163 5.75 ELL paraeducator to position number 173 5.5 hour TK paraeducator effective February 6, 2023. Dismissals and resignations, employee number 101257, probation release from position number 89, 1.0 FTE custodian, Mark Twain Elementary, effective February 10th, 2023. Personnel assignment order was passed. Motion was made by Timothy, seconded by board member Christie, with the following vote of 5 ayes, 0 noes, motion passes.
And you also have your, the request for a leave of absence.
Yes. Here we go. Okay, a motion, there is a request for a leave of absence. Motion was made for a non-paid leave of absence effective June 2nd, 2022. Motion was made by Matt. Motion was seconded by Jennifer. It was Jennifer, thank you. Motion passed 5-0.
So the motion was that it would be non-paid through June 2nd
Through June.
and then placed on the 39-month rehire.
Rehire.
On the 3rd.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. That. Alright, so move to board members.
Nice to be back. I'm happy to be back. Sylvester, I'm here.
Also, like, put my 2 cents in, glad to see Jennifer and honor yourself back.
Scott,
Yep, happy to have Jenny back.
Christie,
Echoing the same thing, nothing else.
Thank you, you guys, I appreciate it.
me too. We're glad to have you back. We missed you. And we know you're back in the saddle. Okay. Superintendent search information. At this time, is Mr. Siders second?
It's, yeah, however, yeah, whatever you guys decided, how it's going to go.
Dan, can you hear us?
I can hear you and I can see you. I don't know whether you have the ability to see me.
We can't see you, but we can hear you, which is good.
Okay, as long as you can hear me.
Yes.
Well, and I'd like to throw in my welcome back, Jenny, as well.
Thank you.
I have a few things. I know that you have a really busy agenda and that you've been meeting for a long time with your special meeting and your closed session. So I'm going to cover most of the bases, but I'm going to try to be as efficient as I possibly can. Please stop me if you have any questions. The ultimate goal tonight is to make sure that I completely understand everything you're looking for to start the search process, because I will be submitting all of the information to get the job officially posted, up and running. I'm going to submit it tomorrow and we're going to open it on Monday. Okay. That's the goal here tonight. And I do have a few questions for you, but I thought that you have the timeline in your board packet, correct?
Yes.
I thought that that would be an excellent way of kind of going through all of the things that I either want to explain to you or ask you questions about. So if you can grab those and have them in front of you, that probably would make it pretty efficient and easy to see. I'd like to start first of all by just thank you for entrusting McPherson Jacobson and myself particularly for doing this search. It's extremely important, and I take it very seriously, and I believe you're in really good hands, and I am going to find you exactly what you're looking for. Just a little bit about me. I served my first ever administrative job was principal of Mark Twain Elementary School way back when in the 80s. And since then, I've had a great career up in the Nevada County in Grass Valley. I served for 18 years as a superintendent principal in a small school district up there. And for my last 3 years, I served as a superintendent in 2 districts. and kind of groomed the next person coming in each of those districts. There was no interview process. They were just kind of hand selected. So I have a lot of experience, but mostly what I'm bringing to the table is a genuine understanding for small rural districts. I completely understand how they run, and I understand the type of individual you're looking for. I did have an opportunity to talk to Diane, and she mostly just reinforced the fact. I know with small school districts, one of the biggest concerns is that you're looking for somebody with some longevity. Small school districts are primed for stepping stones for people to get started in the superintendency. They put in a year or two to get it on their resumes, and out the door they go. And that just leaves you with a spinning wheel and nobody there to implement a vision and to provide stability for your district. I screen for that. I look very carefully when I look at those that apply, and I check to see whether or not they're looking to really work for Mark Twain and that they are aspiring to maintain a career in a small school district, assuming everything goes well. I also want to emphasize that I know the importance of finding somebody. Superintendents in larger districts that try to come to smaller districts are used to delegating. They're used to sitting behind a desk. You are looking for somebody, I'm certain, that's going to roll up their sleeves and be very visible, not only on your campuses, but in the community, because that's what a small school district superintendent needs to do to bring harmony and to make it work. And so these are the traits that I'm going to be looking for during the process of hiring. And when I bring you names, you're going to know that I've already been looking for those types of traits. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that process as we go through the timeline. Okay. One of the questions that I have for you before we get to the timeline is I took a look at the job description for your superintendent, and I want to tell you that that is one of the most inclusive, well-written job descriptions for a small district superintendent I've ever seen. Nice job. It's excellent. And it shows that there was a lot of thought and a lot of work that went into it. I only have one question about it, and it's based on the conversation I had with you, Diane, and what you were looking for as far as qualifications. And I specifically asked you whether a master's degree was something that you wanted, and you said yes. However, in your education and experience requirements, it does not mention a master's degree. So it doesn't matter that much, and you can change that. But in the posting, I want to be clear whether you want me to have a master's degree as part of the criteria for someone to apply.
Board? Timothy?
I don't have an opinion on this.
Scott?
Yeah, I don't have an opinion on it.
Christie?
I think it's really important, although I don't know, and I'd
I
like to
hold-
ask.
I do hold two, but you did not have it in your previous posting. So I don't know if that makes a difference, and I don't know what your previous ones.
I don't think we have to do that. We're a panel meeting with the individual, and we'll sort through it.
Okay, and the most likely, I would guess that 90% of your applications are going to be people with master's degrees. So, and it would take a very strong individual that didn't have a master's degree, because they probably haven't been sitting in a position that would qualify them in other ways in your criteria. So let's just take that out of the job description, okay? And we'll be fine with it. I just like I said, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page and that everything is done to the way you want it. And that was my one question about the job description. All right. Let's take a look at the timeline. Today, obviously, we're talking and we're going to be sharing the process of the recruitment. And let me do that right now, just so you know how this all looks. So here's the process for recruitment. We post the job and it's going to run until March 20th. It's coming out on Monday and will run to March 20th. Every single job search I've ever done, 90% of the applicants apply the last 2 days. Doesn't matter how long it runs. So please don't panic. If in March, when I talk to you, I say I have 3 or 4 applications. I just talked to a gentleman who's doing a search in a small district down in San Diego. And he had 9 going into the last day and ended up with 20. It just takes people a while to get their letters of recommendation, and people want to make sure everything is right and everything's in place. And it's just the nature of the beast. I would love to have them trickle in so I could just, other than being bombarded at the end, but that's just the way it goes. So once somebody applies for the position, I look over the paperwork. There's a lot of times that people are not going to be qualified to go any further than that. We have button pushers that will apply for any and every job. It'll be somebody from New Jersey that has that's a teacher or something of that nature, and I dismiss that. You will know of everybody that does apply and how many people I dismiss when I come in April with our short list, okay? But overall, I screen the individual. On paper, if they meet the criteria and they look like somebody who may be a viable candidate, the next thing I do is I call them and I screen them. And that's where I kind of get a feeling of who they are, what their career aspirations are, why they're applying to the Mark Twain School District, what they know about the district, if anything, and get a sense for who these folks are. Are they dynamic? Are they articulate? Do they have passion? Do they want this job? Assuming that that is a yes, then I begin the vetting process. I start contacting references. I go way, way deeper than the references that they list on their applications and or resumes. Everybody's going to put people that they know and people that are going to say nice things about them. I dig deeper. I look for people in districts or at county levels that aren't on that would know these people. I ask people that are on the list, is there anybody else who's worked closely with this person that I might want to talk to? I get deep. I do not want to bring you any surprises. Everybody that I bring you is going to be fully vetted. I Google search them. I look at everything I possibly can to make sure that I'm bringing you credible individuals, because their credibility is my credibility. Then once I get everybody, all the applications done, I look at everything. I'm going to be coming to you in April with a short list, and you're going to get information of each and every candidate I recommend as a possible interview candidate. Let's just say we get 20 and I recommend 8. I'm just throwing a number out. Those 8, I will send you a preliminary packet of why I've what their strengths are, why I think they would fit in their districts, in the district, et cetera, for you to look at prior to me coming and discussing with you each individual and deciding who it is you want to interview. And I will be doing that in person, in closed session at your April 13th meeting. Any questions so far? Okay, I will continue. So once I get the last bit of information that I need from you, please, is just a clarification. Diane, you sent me the salary schedule.
Yes.
And shall I use the existing numbers on there for the salary range? Has the board made any decisions about whether they wanted to change it because it was done in 2020?
Well, I thought maybe we could put a thing in there, depending on experience. Anywhere from 130 to 140.
Well, the highest level that you have, I don't have it in front of me, was in the 150s. And that's the range that I would put in there. And then the way I see it is, if you get a stellar candidate that you really want, negotiate one of those salary levels, because it's a good salary level up towards the top. There's no doubt about it.
All right,
So I would like to put the range in from your first step to your, I think it's a seventh step, maybe.
Mhm.
So let's just put that in there. But I need that for the.
It will hopefully attract more
Yes,
candidates.
yes. Well, some of the things that it will do by doing that, and it's helpful to me, is that you're going to have some people that are going to look at that job that are aspiring superintendents, but they're working in the valley right now in county or big district offices. And I just talked to somebody about this particular job, and he's making $180,000. He's not going to take that big of a cut. So I want to know the people that are coming up that are. I don't want them to go through a process and learn that, well, I want them to see the salary range, and then if they apply, I know they're interested. It's gotten very, very deep the last couple of years. Salaries have really gone up, but I still think that you're in the ballpark and have a reasonable salary schedule. Okay. Okay, then so we will use the existing salary schedule. Okay. Okay, so the job gets posted on Monday. It'll be posted on EdJoin, on the Mac and Jake website, and it will be determined on every EdCal newspaper that comes out. There will be an ad in that for every publication up until the closing date. That'll either be 2 or 3 magazines. Okay, it will also be on their website the entire time that the job is posted, and that should give you the coverage that you need. I am going to send information to the home office, and they will be working with, I believe, Jamie, to publish a brochure for you that you can put on your website. You'll also have hard copies if somebody comes in. They're very well done, beautiful, professional copies. Mac and Jake will also have that on their website. We'll have that to you by the 20th of the month. Okay, that's on the timeline. And that is your advertising. And I believe that that's going to be completely sufficient for you. If you want to delve any further, Mac and Jake is happy to do anything that you want advertising wise, but beyond what I've just described, there is additional costs too. Okay. All right. So I talked to Diane about stakeholder involvement in this process. And I made it very clear to Diane that the board is the one entity that's solely responsible for hiring a superintendent of a school district. Every other position, from principals on down the road of certificated and classified, you generally have teams that may consist of a board member and administrative staff and teachers, and they're making the decision on who to hire. The difference about a superintendent is this is for the board to make that decision. However, a healthy way of doing this is certainly including every stakeholder group in your district to allow them to provide input on what it is that you're looking for in your next superintendent. And my job is to make sure that I protect you by doing that, so that there's no backlashing, that people feel that you're doing things behind anybody's back, and that you're very transparent and very open. And I've done several of these searches, and I think I have a plan for you that I shared with Diana. Actually shared with Diana a few different options, but one seemed to sit well with Diane, and I'm going to just share it with everybody, and we'll move forward with it, or we can modify it. But basically, we start by putting out a survey that is done by Mac and Jake. They just send it to Sam, and Sam will make a phone call to the community, letting them know a survey is available for a few days, and you put it on your district website. And it's for every stakeholder. It's for people that work at Mark Twain in every capacity. It's for students. It's for the community. Anybody and everybody can fill it out. It's very short and to the point, and it just basically is asking, what do you love about your district? What are the areas of your concerns, or where would, not concerns, but what would you like to see coming into your district And what are you looking for in your next superintendent? It's just a very few questions. Nobody is overwhelmed by the survey, and it provides you and me wonderful information in my vetting process and how I talk to people and what I'm looking for to meet the needs of not only the board, but your entire community. Okay. The survey runs 4 days for a week from the 20th to the 24th. And then the survey is all the data is disaggregated and put together by the home office. We're not asking you to have Sam or anybody in your district to do any of this work. This is all on me and all on the home office. We will disaggregate the data. I will go through it. I make sure that the survey is not a witch hunt. There's no names mentioned in it. There's nothing controversial. Anything that comes that way, it leaves the purpose of the survey is to give us an idea of what you're looking for in the next superintendent. It's not a venting session for anybody. And so anyway, I will go through it. I will make recommendations on what that final survey results should look like. I will maybe present it to the board, and I say that based on dates. And you will look at it and say thumbs up, and then Sam will post it on the website and phone home and let people know again that, hey, the results are here. So everybody can see what the community said and that their results and their comments were listened to and have been published. So that's how the survey works. Now, the reason I said whether the board or not, I was planning on having the summary of the survey results on March 9th, but Diane told me that that meeting is going to be changed. Is that still correct?
No, we're gonna have that meeting on the 9th after all.
Okay, wonderful, Diane. Then I will have, that gives time to disaggregate the data. And so on the 9th, we will zoom in again, and I will share with you the survey data, kind of get a thumbs up from you, like, yes, that looks good. You'll already have a copy in front of you. You'll get it in plenty of time to look it over in your packets prior to the meeting. And then we'll talk about it. I'll eliminate anything else that you feel like you might want eliminated. If you do want something eliminated, I'll also talk to you a little bit about the recruits. Because it's an open session, I won't be using names, but I'll just say, hey, I've already gotten 6 people. I feel good about them. Or just whatever. I'll give you any updates that I have about how the search is going, but it is fairly early in the search. Okay, so once you approve the survey results, then the next day it will be posted onto the district website and be able to stay on there. The next step in working with the stakeholders is Diane thought, and I think this is the best way to do it, that when a candidate comes to interview, on the day or days of interview, there are 2 interview teams. There is the board, who has a series of questions that are very appropriate for a board. And then there is a stakeholder group consisting of anywhere from 5 to 10 individuals that will also meet with that candidate. I do it all on the same day, so the candidate, if they're traveling, doesn't have to spend multiple days. While you're interviewing one, the committee's interviewing another, and we flip-flop people, and I put together the entire schedule. So when the community, and when I talk about the stakeholder involvement, it's whether or not we decide or you decide, do you want, it's usually an administrator, like the principal, a principal, an office staff member, teacher, a classified member, and a community member. Now, I know you have, that's 5. I know you have 2 schools. There's nothing wrong with having each school pick a community member and have each of the administrators there and have an office staff member from each. However you want to do it. Remember, the purpose of this is for transparency and for input to be provided to you on what they think. But there is no decision-making process that this committee is responsible for. But I will work with each site administrator, but I need a little guidance from you on whether or not you want representation from each of the stakeholders, or whether you want me to put it out there like, hey, there's 5 openings, and just let everybody kind of decide how you want to do it. Any input?
When you say both, you mean both schools?
Both. I don't want you to have a situation where one school feels like they didn't have the opportunity to give as much input as another school. Those things happen, you know it. And I don't want classified to feel like they've been left out and the certificated has said more than them. My recommendation is that you cover both schools, you have 10 people, and you pick 5, and you allow each site, each school to pick 5 members to be on that committee. And that ultimately those interviews, I do a 20-minute orientation, and then one of the site administrators facilitates the interviews.
Dan, I was also thinking perhaps we need department heads to be at the stakeholders meeting also. So because they're going to be working with this individual also, and this way their input is valuable too.
Define the department head for me, please.
Like head of transportation, our CBO, maintenance, yes.
You know,
It would be a larger stakeholder panel, but
I think that's, some of that's quagmire. You're gonna have 25 people there?
Well, in the past, I think we've had,
What is in the contracts too?
I don't know,
What
but
do you mean, Jim?
let me go on with my,
Didn't they
I
have
hear
a
your
point
question
where-
about avoiding a quagmire.
Teachers, is it written in their contracts in searching for, and then they give
Not
us
for
names and.
superintendent, only principals.
No, that wouldn't be in a contract. It's
Oh,
just,
yeah, it could be.
it's just the board reaching out and asking for input. And, you know, if you would like to have a person from each department, I mean, you can just say, look, you guys all decide, but we want one teacher, we want one classified member, we want all of our department heads. It could be a discussion item that you know, we have. I'm not really looking at working with stakeholder contacts to establish things until March 13th. So do you want to have a further discussion about this and come back and discuss it again on the 9th of March?
or
No, I think that we should have the stakeholders involved, like we were just talking about. So I think it's a good idea.
including department heads.
There was one time, and I don't know how far long ago it was, where there were actually 2 groups of stakeholders. So we avoided the quagmire, because I remember being on a 25-person superintendent
And
search
so
of Red
what's
Arm.
left when they finally come to us? How many people?
I think what he's describing, Jenny, is that whatever number the stakeholders interview, you would be interviewing the same number. So you would be seeing all the same people that the stakeholders saw, is what Dan is
Because at times we've
suggesting.
been bit by that. Making a popular decision and it not being the right decision on a superintendent. And it's usually in-house.
So, and Dan, so our bargaining agreement does have that staff has input and decision-making powers for principals, but not the superintendent.
And that's standard fare. It's just not appropriate for them to have, and the key word is input. What happens is this, and you know what, whether you have 12 people, you said department heads and you mentioned 3 more people, maybe it's 15. It's doable. It is doable. And what happens is there are going to be a series of questions. There's going to be a facilities question. I make sure every stakeholder has a valid question that they would be interested in. And I send it out to everybody to look at. And if they would like to have it potentially modified, they have time to send it back to me. So they're involved in the questions, everything. And I just do that with them. I usually work through the principals to make that happen. That's
So,
my contact
If it's
person.
25 people, we have to have 25 questions, right?
Not
everybody-
necessarily, and I really don't see where there's 25. You really have 15 people that are stakeholder groups beyond what I had mentioned.
Okay,
So you have teachers, you have classified, you have districts.
Office, yes,
office.
district office.
You have a director of transportation, you have a director of facilities. And you have then the site admin. You
Yes.
also have a food service person.
Parents.
And then you have parents, and you also have a very active DLAC, ELAC committee that is not really attached to any one site, but they would probably not get the vote of or make it to the cutoff for the site. So they should have a person in and of themselves, I think. So
okay.
What is that you just mentioned? I think it was an acronym. Is that like a foundation?
no, you also have your, I don't know if boosters and PTC are gonna come up with your parent group, or if you're gonna look to your.
Those
site
are
council.
parents. Those are parents. And that's where you kind of draw lines. And
The
each,
ELAC and DLAC committee is a body that is made up of all of our English as second language. And
Okay.
that's a growing entity in this district.
okay. Okay, so if we had a one person from transportation facilities, food service, and ESL, basically, and then 2 people from all the stakeholders, that's 14.
Like it.
It's doable, and I'll have enough questions so that every stakeholder group is covered. And you will be able to see the questions as well. There's not going to be any surprises. You're going to, as the board, you'll see everything before it goes out. If you don't like a question or you're uncomfortable with the question, you're going to tell me, and it's not going to be there, okay? And they're going to be different questions than what you're going to be asking. So after the meetings, the way I stagger things, the stakeholders start a little earlier than the board, and they finish a little earlier than the board. And then through a process that I use, they don't rank or do anything that would say, we want this person, or this person. They simply come in and talk about the strengths and or concerns of each of the individuals that they've done. And what they do is they do a brainstorming session with the facilitator. The facilitator comes to you, and after you're done your last interview, and before you begin deliberating, you will give that individual the opportunity to share the information so that they know you got it, that you've heard it, and that they will share the input that they got from that group. Does that make sense? And not everybody's going to have, they're going to be limited to just, she or he will be limited to like 3 or 4 things that they talk about to assist you in where they're coming from. But it's not like, who do you want? Who do you think is the best candidate? That's not acceptable. That's not their job. And they will know that because I will do in orientation, explain to them what their role is, what their job is, how much they are appreciated by the board, how much they should appreciate you for allowing them to participate in this, and their transparency. And that's it. And then after you get that information, that individual leaves, and then you will deliberate and make the decision on who you believe is your next superintendent. Are you okay with that process? Okay, I think it's the best way to go. And I think it will work, and it works very smoothly because I've done this several times. Okay, so let me see. Going down, so on the 13th, I'm going to meet with you in closed session. We're going to decide how many folks you want to interview. And then based on that, That will determine the schedule of whether we're doing 1-day interviews, 2 days of interviews, et cetera, and we can talk about that in detail in closed session when that time comes. I have it scheduled for April 20th and or the 21st, which is a Thursday, Friday, for stakeholder and board interviews. And then on the 21st or 22nd, let's just say, assume that we're going to do a 1-day interview. The next day is set aside in case you want to bring back 2 very close candidates for a different type of more informal interview. That may help you because you're at a standstill. There's no clear person at that time. My recommendation always, because it's more friendly for people that may be coming out of town or that are working, that you look at the Friday, the 21st, assuming it's a 1-day interview, and then have Saturday, the 22nd, as either the day that you're going to bring back 2 people, or you're going to decide on the 21st who you want, and you're going to bring that individual back to just talk to them again and to talk about contract and see that everything's in sync and that you're going to get it, that this is going to all work out. So that's my recommendation, but those dates of the 20th, 21st, 22nd do not need to be determined until we meet at the board meeting on the 13th.
So we will see 2 people.
I'm sorry?
2 people?
No. Let's, I'm sorry. Let's just say that as a board, you have chosen to interview 4 people. And I'm just throwing out a random number. Sometimes it's 6, sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's only 3. Let's just say for our intent, our purposes right now, Jenny, there's 5.
Okay.
You will interview all 5. Then when it gets down to the brass tacks of deliberating, if you can't decide because there's 2 people that are neck and neck, and maybe you need to talk to them again, that's what that next day is for, and only that. I've actually never done a search where the board has needed that extra set of interviews, but I know that they happen.
Okay.
It's not like it's standard fare for that to happen. Most of the time, there's a clear-cut person that the board feels strongly about and unanimously.
Okay.
Most of the time. Okay? Does everything look okay so far? Anybody have any ideas, input? I want this to work perfectly for you, and I want it to be very open, and I want to make sure that everything goes really, really smoothly as you anticipate. I mean, as a superintendent for 18 years, the worst thing in the world I ever could do was surprise my board. And now I'm kind of in that same mentality. I don't want to surprise you. I want everybody to know everything that's going on through this entire process, and I want to work and listen carefully because this is your community. All right. Once you hire somebody, you want to finalize the contract agreement. I'm not really a part of that, but I will assist you in what you need to do to have a contract ready. And basically that's working with an attorney. And then on May 11th, I know you're going to change it from a special meeting to a regular meeting tonight, so that on the 11th or the next meeting, either one, you can approve the hiring of the new superintendent and then make that a public announcement. And they will, and I'm assuming that they're starting July 1, and they should have some time then to perhaps meet with Paula and get some sense of where the district is at and the layout of the land, et cetera, et cetera. The only other thing that I have for you is to just let you know 2 things about working with Mac and Jake that is included in the contract that you signed. First, there is a guarantee that the person that you select will be with you for a minimum of 2 years. And if not, Mac and Jake will come back and do a search and only charging for travel and whatever the costs of somebody coming in and doing it, but it's basically, it will be done for free. The other thing is, after your superintendent has been hired and has worked, I like to do this. I like to have the person work through August, have a board meeting with you, and sometime after the second board meeting at September, I come back and we do what's called phase 5. And basically it's a workshop in closed session between the superintendent and the board, talking about how things are going so far, a very clear clarity on the role of the superintendent, the role of the board, how to work together. And for me also to do a little bit of board training on just some reminders of some really helpful things about what to do if you're cornered in the supermarket by a parent. And just some of the things that sometimes come up for board members that kind of blindside them, because I know I have a really strong presentation. It takes anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, depending on what you want, but that's all included in the fees of everything. I know that you signed a contract for $10,000 with a maximum of 14 something, and that other $4,000 is for my expenses. I am ultra conscientious about small school districts in your budgets. I don't want to spend your money. I want that money to go to your kids. That's why we're Zooming tonight. That's why we're Zooming in March. I really feel like I need to be there in April, and I need to be there with the, you don't have to have me there at the interviews, but my role there generally is to sit in the background and take notes. And when you're done, if you have any questions about something that may have been said that you don't have knowledge about, hopefully I will, and I can help you. And then I facilitate the deliberation process to consensus. And that's, and so these are 2 times I would meet with the board, 2 times I need overnights. And I told Diane, looking at rooms and everything else, I think it would be about $450 per visit. So it's under $1,000 to you. And then when I do the workshop in September, I would really hope that you'd like me to come down one more time. I can do it on Zoom if you want to just do it that way, but that's a decision that you make after you meet me and work with me and see where the value is of my presence. And you guys can decide that when we do the interviews, et cetera, okay? I think I've gotten through pretty much everything that I need to get through. Does anybody have any more questions? Let me just really quickly, so there's no confusion. Salary range is what you have listed. No, we're not making it required for a master's degree, but you do want them to have a teaching credential and a California administrative credential, and the teaching credential California as well. 5 years of teaching, 3 years of admin. That's what you have on your job description. Okay. Specific, you're okay with the closing date of March 20th. Let me see. I think I've got everything else taken care of, unless there's something in that that you feel that you don't feel okay about, or you want me to add to the announcement.
We had a public comment that I don't know if
Yeah,
wanted to be here
Jessica,
with Dan, in case Dan was able to answer versus the board or both.
Hi, this is Jessica Johnston. I'm the site council chair for Mark Twain. And just real quick, I just wanted to say thank you for recognizing the importance of including stakeholders in this process. And the site council did meet on January 30th, and we would like to be included in this process. It was something that we discussed, and we have members interested. And so we just wanted to thank you for including us in that process.
You're absolutely welcome, Jessica. And usually what happens, and it's not always the case, but most site council members are parents. And what I've usually done is either somebody from site council or the PTA president is the parent rep from a site, and they kind of have to decide. If you want a site council member and a parent, then we're up to 16. And that's, I'm not saying that negatively in any way. We're going to make it work. But what you want to do is you want the process to be smooth. And if you don't want, for instance, let's just say that Jessica is the person that comes and represents, you're with Mark Twain, right, Jessica?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so Jessica wants to come. Well, you certainly don't want to upset the PTA president that feels like PTA should have a voice as well. So, and that's a decision that needs to happen at each site. I can't really make that determination, but I think that there should be parameters given to each site as far, so you don't get 25. We don't want 5 parents. Not that we don't want 5 parents, but it makes the process not as effective or efficient. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And I'll work with contacts at each site to make sure that the stakeholder part goes smoothly. That's my job. And I understand the sensitivity of it. But I am also going to be really concerned about, let's just say, I'd like to kind of put a max at 16. And that would be including 2 parents from each site and all of the heads of everything that you're mentioning here. Are you okay with that? So I have some parameter to operate with. 16 is a lot. That would be the biggest stakeholder group that I've ever worked with or ever had because the problem with getting that many too is the stakeholders, when they meet after they've interviewed everybody, it will take a long time. There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. So I've never done, the biggest group I've ever done is 10.
I have a question. My name is Debbie. I'm from Copper. I'm on site council. I'm a para at Copper. And we talked about this yesterday too. We thank you for including parents, staff, all the stakeholders involved. Could you just run down real quickly? You had said we could get a team together, but they're not part of the hiring process. They are part of giving input to the candidates for the position. Is that how that works?
The interviewing team provides input to the board prior to the board delegating to make a final decision on who they want to hire. Does that make sense?
Yes, ultimately the board will make the hiring decision, but they'll have input from both Mark Twain and Copper as to our thoughts.
Absolutely, and they will be presented in person by one selected individual from that committee to come in and verbally share everything that has come up with that committee, so the committee knows that their thoughts have been heard by the board. It's not like write this down on a piece of paper and we'll give it to the board. They are going to hear the results of what the committee thinks.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Debbie.
Paul had a question.
I had just a logistical question of the brochure.
Yes.
Is there any way that the brochure could be prepared earlier than the 20th, a 7-day lag between the posting and a brochure? That is kind of long.
That's a question that I can't answer, because what's going to happen is on Monday, Jamie's going to get a call from probably Nikki from the home office in Omaha, and they work all that out. And maybe there can be, but a lot of districts don't even bother with a brochure. They're not critical in the process. They're great to have and they reflect a lot of professionalism. But typically there is a lag between posting and waiting and the brochure, but the brochure has got to be developed. I've forwarded everything to them. It may not take a week, but I just don't want to say it's going to happen in 3 days because I'm not the one that's putting it together. That's going to be a Jamie and Nikki conversation.
Certainly.
The survey that you were talking about sending out,
Yes,
will it be in both English and Spanish?
thank you. I failed to comment on that. I've already talked to to Sam, and yes, it will be in English and in Spanish, and it will be disaggregated. Everything will be disaggregated. All the comments, whether they're Spanish or English, will be in English and in Spanish. But thank you. I failed to mention that, but yes, I've already contacted the home office and told them we wanted the survey in both languages.
That's also one of your desirable qualifications. I saw.
Will that stakeholder have input on the questions?
The other thing about the survey is that you're also going to see what the staff that works at the schools say, what the community says. It's going to distinguish who took the survey. No names, but it will be, hey, there were 12 people from the district that worked here, and these are the results from them. There were 40 people from the community, and here are the results from them. There were 5 students, and here are the results from them. It's all broken down beautifully. So you really get a sense for the stakeholders that are involved in the survey process.
Dan, there was a question about whether the stakeholders or someone other than you would have input on developing the questions.
What I do is I believe over the course of all of the searches I've done, and I only do small school districts like Mark Twain, I think I have an excellent array of questions. I will put together questions that I believe that both the stakeholders and the board will have as an excellent starting point to look at and tweak as they feel necessary. Board, we will do that on April 20th, but you will see the questions ahead of time, and it's a work in progress with the stakeholders done through the principals. Well, I will send out all the questions that I think are viable that cover each stakeholder concerns, and then I will wait and I will have a deadline for people to get things back to me. But technically, we don't need the interview questions until the interview's on April 20th or 21st. So there's plenty of time to do that. And I'm starting the process on March 13th. It gives us over a month to make sure that everything is in order and in line. It's not a rushed process. Does that answer your question okay?
I think the question was regarding the survey questions.
The survey questions are pretty standard. They're from the home office of Mac and Jake, and they provide what I believe is the information that's needed to help me more than anything be able to determine what everybody's looking for in their next superintendent while I'm interviewing them ahead of time and vetting them to bring them to the board. So the questions are kind of directed around that. And it's also a short and sweet survey, so people feel compelled to take it. And it's not just numbers, like pick a number 1 to 5. It gives everybody opportunities to put comments on the survey.
Dan, it's Sam.
Yes.
I know that you mentioned something with Jamie about the brochures, but I wanted to remind you that we will not be here. It's a holiday. The
Okay,
13th.
thank you. I will have them contact you on the 14th.
And I'll have, and then I do believe
Yes.
the 20th, we are also not present. So with the all call going out as well, so do you want me to do it that Friday before? Or on the
You all
19th?
called because you're not there on the 20th. That
So
is,
you guys could do this at a different time.
Okay.
Because
I would actually do the all call. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm looking, the 20th is a Monday. I would do the all call on Friday, the 17th.
All right,
And so just so you know, also, Sam, I will send you the scripted all call. So that you
Okay.
have something to, you don't have to read it verbatim. You can change it a little bit, but I'm not going to ask you to create what it is. You'll know exactly what I want you to say or what about that. Okay. I'm not asking you to create anything.
all right,
But yeah, let's do that. I will send that to you we'll do the all call on the 17th. And we still can why don't we post the survey on the 17th? You call in the morning and say it's been posted and we'll just run it from the 17th to the 24th.
okay,
Okay, that's fine. I don't like running surveys too long because people think, oh, I can do that. And then they never get around to it.
Right.
But that'll work. Thank you, Sam. I missed the holidays.
Dan, thank you very much for your presentation. We appreciate your time and your effort in this. We're gonna move on a little bit because we've got a
Yes.
bit of work to do
Yes, you
tonight.
do.
And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the board or myself. We'd be happy
Okay.
to answer them.
And anybody can contact me if you need my contact information, both email and phone. I know the district has it. I'm happy to talk to anybody at any point if you have a question or a concern. Okay, just let me know.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much for your time. I hope I didn't take too much of it, but I wanted to be thorough.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay, look forward to meeting you or at least talking to you again in March.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Okay, back to information and discussion items. Do we have a student body member to talk? No, Dawn.
No, that's his son.
Do we have a representative from Badger Boosters or Copper PTC? Does Jessica want to make a comment?
Hi, sorry, trying to unmute myself. Just a quick update for Badger Boosters. We filled 2 teacher requests, one for transportation to the Angels Camp Fire Department, one for seating for a classroom, which included beanbags and stools. And then we were happy to participate in Kindness Week. We supplied rocks and supplies for 10 classes to participate with their buddies from older grades in painting rocks with messages of kindness to be spread throughout campus. And also supplied the coffee, danishes, and fruit for student council to serve to teachers and staff. We put out a message, an email to teachers and staff yesterday that we are seeking ideas for campus beautification projects to utilize the funds raised by the Jogathon back in November, now that spring is almost here. And within 24 hours, we have received 8 responses from teachers with multiple ideas in each response. So that's really nice to see that people, are replying and letting us know what they want to see on their campus. And we continue to share community and school events on our social media pages. And our next meeting is Wednesday, February 15th at Roundtable.
Great, thank you, Jessica. Do we have a Copperopolis representative? Debbie?
Is at times, I think. I don't know if she still is, but
Debbie?
she's not on it anymore. Okay. Do you have something?
Okay, do we have a certificated representative?
Nope,
Classified?
nope.
Okay, administrators. Sarah is not here, but she did include her report.
Yes.
We have Ms. Lisa.
We just kind of got that in your packet. And I included those 2 pictures of those were the 2 door winners. The one with the rainbow and the raindrops. The teacher actually included the name of every single student on our
That's
school.
great.
So it was, I walked by and went, oh, and then I'm like looking closer. And Kindness Week was just, it was pretty fabulous. The PTC or the Badger District and the leadership treated the staff. It was just pretty fabulous. We had kindness messages going out. Our rocks are being placed all over. But really the best part of that was watching the big kids work with little kids and paint and decide what message. And I will go to the end to say, watching some of our big kids who may be a little rough around the edges get with their buddies is reaffirms anybody's faith. So it's just it's pretty wonderful. I was at Every Student Succeeding this morning. It was a lovely breakfast put on by AXA and CCOE kind of helps do that at Down Oaks. Our student was Hayden Hill, just a pretty phenomenal young man who had lost his mother last year, and she had been really sick pretty much his entire childhood, but never fails to show up with a smile on his face, a kind word to a friend, and just working really hard. So it's a highlight of the year so far, just to be able to that. Our SSTs continue to work, continue to talk about attendance and all of those. Our site counselor, as Jessica had said, getting a really eager group of parents up and running. Our sports continue to fill our gym. We've got the NA basketball going on, tournament going on this weekend. And then one of the big things coming up is breaking down the walls of what all of our seventh graders will participate in next week. It's kind of a unique program that really comes from, it's really hard to hate or dislike somebody when you actually know them and know their story and give them a chance to share.
Any comments for it? Okay, Ms. Paula?
So you have my report, but two things that didn't make it on is that yesterday we did resubmit our TK grant. And so we are still looking at a date in probably June that we would know if we made it through round 2. So that has been submitted for the facilities. We did include, we continued to include, just as we did last year, the potential to get state funding for the acquisition of property in Angels Camp near the Mark Twain site. So that we would continue to look at that. And then the other thing that came up, I spoke to you about the ESL class. That has been, and that's in my report, but I just want to highlight that we now have, we were at the time I wrote it, approaching 50, we're now approaching 60. They've added 3 additional sections of adult ed. CCOE is running it. We're helping with the facilities and with childcare. Each week it's on Mondays and Wednesdays. And we are attracting, or CCOE is attracting folks from outside our geographical area, but all of Calaveras County, because it is just such, there's such a thirst in that community. And the median age is about 26, 27. So it's younger families. So that's nice to have it on our campus so that we can build that relationship, so that when those littles start looking at schools, it's just an easier transition and they have already a good feeling about our district. And then finally, one thing that came up when I was subbing for Lisa, earlier in the week on Monday was that I had a staff member come up because the district has had a history of when you surplus, which you just did surplus over 200 Chromebooks, the district has had a history of reselling those at very cheap prices. Right now it's $10 for ones that don't hold the charge and $35 for those that do. But one of the employees came up to me and said, why do we have to charge? Because the taxpayers have already paid for these. So why can we not just give them away? So I actually talked to Pam Heiss and Jen Ashworth, who are the ones that have to figure that out and ferret that out, ask them what the pros and cons are. Of course, the only real true pro to it is that tech is expensive. And so it might give you a small dent into a very large tech bill, but neither one felt like the organization of it all and the logistics of it all is worth it. So they felt like it's definitely worth, they both were in favor of, putting together a giveaway. But we would need your direction since historically you have recouped some minor dollars from that. And so if you have any opinions, I'd like to hear those just so I could go back. But we have all been talking with Bernadette and just thinking about it, and also the two ladies that have had to deal with it. We certainly like the idea of just giving them away, but that's up to you guys.
We're seeking direction now.
I just had a couple questions, so I'd love the idea of giving it away, but wouldn't that be benefiting just one person instead of the masses, and isn't that?
They would have the opportunity, and since you've surplus them, I mean, technically they're gonna go into a dump. I mean, so it's, once you've surplus them, they are junk to you and no longer fall under any of the things like equity or access. So it would be something that, we would have to hold probably because we only have 200. It would be, to students first. The only thing that I think Bernadette and Pam and Jen all expressed was certainly, making sure that they went to students first. And it was like one household, it wasn't like even if you have 3 kids, you get 3 Chromebooks. It's you want to spread them out as far as you can. And so it would probably have to be either a lottery or first come, first serve kind of
Why
thing.
don't you just put them on a pile out there with a free sign and people will take a dead chicken if it says free. Okay.
The only, and this is
Somebody
gonna
to
be
pay
a really ugly thing to
Jesus.
say, but I would want to make sure that they went to students and not somebody that wanted to resell it for some meth.
Okay, that would be a bad idea, but the pile would be gone.
The pile would be
Yeah.
gone, but probably,
The pile
I mean,
waste.
it's not, I think we could do that, but because there's the notion out there that families have to pay for them, Ms. Heiss kind of expressed that she would like to know the druther of the board sooner versus later, just so we can retract that they're not going to have to pay for them. So it's not something that we felt was worth. It came up after the board agenda was already published, and I didn't feel like it was that major of a decision that we needed to make, to wait on it. I think if I could just take a general consensus, and then I would direct her to do whatever on behalf of the district.
Timothy?
Go.
Ms.
Gotcha.
Paula, I have a question.
Sure.
Once they're surplus, can they be used in the classroom? Or not?
No, because of the firewall, and they don't update.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Jenny?
Oh, give them away.
I think so.
Give
too.
them.
I
Okay,
think
so
I'd
too.
like to see them go to the families. I really would.
All right. That concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. Consent agenda items. Science camp field trip approval, approval of December 2022 financial report and budget revisions, approval of purchase orders, approval of warrants, approval of minutes, and correspondence to the board. Any comment, board?
Yes, before someone makes a motion, I'd like to request that the minutes from January be pulled, everything else, okay. There just need to be a mild revision on that, which we brought back to the next board meeting.
Okay, would you like to make that motion reflecting that?
So I make a motion to approve the consent agenda item and pulling the January minutes to be
So actually you have to pull them and then you vote on it. So you have to make a motion to pull it
you.
and approve that you're pulling it.
Someday I'll get this.
And then you'll take a motion on what's left.
So
So first you're gonna make a motion
to
to
pull
pull
January.
item E.
Item E.
January of item E.
Do I hear a second?
I don't know, second.
Scott seconds it. Timothy?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Christie?
I'm sorry, I have a question. Is it any revisions to the minutes? It has to be pulled, no matter how, because I found one error, but it's not like a minor, it's a
So
title.
one of the things that Timothy brought up was whether there was the recollection is that there was a motion. It was a 2-2, and then there was a new emotion, but when Sam was trying to find it
Yeah,
in the recording, when you guys were meeting in the special meeting today, she couldn't find it, so
I
we
didn't
don't
find the
have an
second one.
easy answer for tonight, and that's why we're pulling.
Was yours also the January?
it's not, it's the December one, and it's just the title for Kendall. It's listed as member and it should be vice president. It's not a big deal, but I don't know if that title matters in our official minutes.
If I were you, I'd just pull item E into entirety and
I
make that.
meant my motion to pull item E.
And
Would you like to
it's-
make a second?
Scott seconded it.
Yes, but I have a new one.
Wait, we got it.
Samantha.
Do you?
I on
Oh.
pulling E, sorry.
Okay. Right, I from Diane, so motion passes 5-0. Yeah, now we need a motion to.
I don't even know what the hell's going on right now.
So what motion
Hold
did
that.
did we just go for only the January one?
No, you pulled all of them.
Did all of
Okay,
them.
with the amended motion.
With the amended
Of
motion.
all of the,
Okay, so we're
Right.
good. Right?
yeah,
So now we need a motion on the consent agenda,
I
correct?
move to approve the remaining items.
The remaining items, yes. So I need a motion on the consent agenda, approving the remaining items with the exception of item E that has been pulled.
Move.
Is there a second?
Second.
And I would like you to ask for discussion.
Is there a discussion before we do
Yes.
roll?
There is a correspondence that came in late that's not part of your board packet, so I want to make sure that we don't usually print this, but you are welcome to. It's the audit financials for the JPA, and those are usually just kept, so I just want to let you know that that correspondence came in since the board agenda was passed, so that's the end of discussion.
Any further discussion? Okay, Timothy, Scott?
Aye.
Christie?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Diane, I motion passes 5-0. Action items, District 3 calendars. That's on page 115.
Did you not get all three?
I have one.
Okay. I don't know what you did. So when you go to make this motion, you're just going to make a motion for the 23-24 school year, because it should have somehow the attachment should have had the 24-25 and then 25-26, but I will.
I think it's because it's in Excel and it probably didn't. Do you want me to go print those right now?
No, because nobody's had a chance to have them in their packet. So just when you make the motion, you could just clarify that it's not the 3 years. It's only 2024. The only thing that you need to note on this is because it was, this year is a little dicey because school ends before May, and it's in our bargaining agreements that our employees need to work 1 day in June in order to receive their pay. So we had to add a work day on the 3rd, which then, and because of our 2 days of in-service together, that took out the typical fall work day that we share with Bret Hart and Vallecito, so you won't see that. And you also won't see the March Bret Hart because we have the 2 staff days prior to the start of school to meet our 180 and our 183. So 180 student days, 183 employee days. Both part of our negotiations with both groups was to look at an addition of work days, but right now there are none. So that's why you don't have anything in October/November when you usually have one, and you don't have one in March.
Any discussion? Board? Okay, do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
A second.
And that motion is for the 23-24 school year only, not for the 3 years.
Correct.
Okay, Timothy?
I,
Scott?
Aye.
Christie?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Diane, aye. Motion passes 5-0. B, job descriptions, Director of Child Nutrition and School Psychologist.
Yes. So we have been working for quite some time on wanting to move and a position that is more encompassing for our food service and child nutrition program. And we believe the best way to do that is with a district person. Right now, we have multiple people at the district office having to do federal and state tasks with regard to child nutrition, in addition to our principals who are overtasked, have the task of doing all the evaluations for their site staff. And so it makes sense to have someone evaluate you that has an expertise. So we would like you to approve the Director of Child Nutrition, which would be a certificated management position. However, please note that you're only approving the job description, and that the position is actually still in negotiations because it relates to the other food service programs.
Any questions? Okay, I'd like to have a motion on the job description, but not the actual job itself. No, that's not correct.
Well, just knowing that it's still in
It's still in
negotiations,
negotiations.
your job description allows us to continue with the
With the
posting and that kind of thing. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the job description for the Director of Child Nutrition and School Psychologist.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Timothy?
I,
Scott? Christie?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Diane, aye. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, transportation mileage and driver change for field trips and extracurricular events.
Okay, so you have some backup in your packet. And one of the things that we did was, I am accustomed to, but this came up as part of this science camp, and was it cost efficient to have a charter bus versus school bus? And quite frankly, since we just started back into field trips, Bill Sunling and I met last year. We had been only charging $1 per mile, which doesn't even cut close with the cost of what it to run a bus. he raised that when he became the head of transportation. When I talked to him about that and how that amount came up, and just also looking at, because just my work in other districts and knowing what transportation costs in other districts that have some of the same issues that we have. One of the things that has always happened was that annually the district would review an annual rate. And the way that you get the annual rate is you take all the encompassing things that take it to roll a bus out of here. It's not just like, what is your gas kind of thing. So what we found out as we looked at that more closely is that Calaveras Unified charges $2 per mile and $35.40 per hour. And Bret Hart charges $3.65 per mile, and then whatever the rate of their individual driver is. So I knew we were woefully low, and it really came to a head because in my mind, I knew that if we really had an accurate annual rate, while a school bus would be somewhat cheaper, it wouldn't be significantly cheaper, and especially if you add the drain. So then that I asked Bernadette to pull, and I would suggest that and so I established with Bill and Bernadette how you go about. And so hopefully you guys will take this into the future with your new leadership in determining an annual rate and really looking at that. That doesn't mean that you necessarily have to charge that, although I would suggest that you do when you're looking at different things. But what makes the most sense is that you're going to take the total cost of your transport and mechanic, your fuel parts, DMV repairs, any bus acquisitions, which that shouldn't be really happening, although we did have it this past year, drivers and substitutes, less. And then you're going to take, so you take that amount, then you less the fees and federal and state dollars that you get, and you divide that by your annual miles driven. So I know that as a teacher, I always was hoping that our buses would drive lots of miles, because if I had to pay for the more miles you drive, the cheaper it is. So if I was trying to set up a field trip, I was always hoping that our bus drivers actually drove lots of miles. So you have the breakdown of that, which was about so the cost last year was about $347,449.21. We received about 110,000, almost 110.5 from both state, federal, and we had about 7,000 of that was from the fees that we charge in transportation to families that use our transportation. So that brought it down to 237. You divide that by your annual miles driven, and that gives you a cost of $2.57 per mile. I would certainly suggest that you enact that annual rate and that you continue with the $35 per hour for the driver, and that you continue this practice going forward so that you know. And if you choose, for example, if you say you'd like to enact this, I wanted you to see this, I would suggest that you enact it. However, you could say, you know what, Paula, I appreciate knowing that it's $2.57, but everybody, all the teachers, the principals have kind of banked on, it's only going to cost us $1.25 per mile, but and say this year we're not going to change it, but we do want to go forward and we are going to charge that amount. But I do think it's important that you understand that by doing that, you are somehow tasking the district, primarily your general fund, to subsidize your transportation for every single field trip and every time that bus rolls when it's not home to school. So And you may want to do that. Calaveras Unified definitely is subsidizing at $2. Bret Hart probably isn't subsidizing much at $3.65. That's why you see that big discrepancy. So as I said, I would suggest that you enact the $2.57 per mile. You can choose to table it, certainly, but just know that that's how much you're subsidizing.
So is this 257 per mile plus the 35?
Yes. Yeah,
That could add up to a lot of money.
it is. You're spending a lot of
Oh,
money.
yeah.
Our ski trips alone are $1,000 a trip.
Or any discussion?
And those are being paid for by the district right now, transportation. So you're already subsidizing significantly.
To me, it's reality and the prices are only gonna go up.
Correct. So do I hear a motion? Motion to approve the annual procedure and approve the mileage cost and driver cost. Do I hear a second?
One second.
Timothy, Scott? Christie? Tim?
Aye.
Diane, aye. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, site start report.
You have those, because you have to approve them. You have to approve them, however they've been posted. Because you're required to post them by, and the site councils approve them. Really, you're just improving that the district met the requirement of meeting the February 1st timeline that the state requires for principals and site councils to complete a SARC.
Do we have any discussion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second,
Timothy, Scott?
Aye.
Christie?
Aye.
Jenny?
Aye.
Diane, aye. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, revision of annual governance team calendar.
You have those at the request of your superintendent search consultant. He wanted the flexibility to have both May 10th and May 24th be regular board meetings instead of study sessions. So in case you're ready to offer a contract, he would have that flexibility to do so, because you can only offer it in a regular board meeting.
Any discussion? We were gonna have a special.
Yeah, they were going to be just study sessions during the open house. Those are both open house days. So you probably would only do public input and that item. It probably wouldn't be a full regular big.
Discussion?
I just had a question. So because it's going to a regular meeting, you start at 5:30 then and no longer 5?
That's what that's what typically has happened, is your special meeting started at 5:30.
Oh, I just read, okay, an open session and public special board meetings will not have a closed session and will begin at 5. So if it's going to regular, it
would be 5:30 for those two.
Any further discussion? Do I hear a motion?
moved,
Is there a second?
I'll say.
Timothy, Scott, Christie, Jenny, Diane, aye. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, board bylaw review on board member absences.
So you have the two bylaws that you have. We're thankful that Jenny has made it through some things, but the board did direct me to inquire about and do some homework regarding if Jimmy had chosen not to continue, but she has. And so that's awesome. And then those bylaws are just listed, and I would suggest that you let any action on this item die for lack of or lack of a motion.
Do I hear a motion?
That's got me, so I shouldn't do anything. Okay,
Motion dies for lack of a motion. Correct?
so you don't need me anymore?
No.
Well, damn.
That's the
The item, yeah, the item died. There's no,
item died.
there's no
Okay,
vacancy.
I'm good with that.
You don't need to fill any vacancies.
As you see,
We don't have a vacancy anymore. Okay, our next meeting, the next board meeting is March 9th, and it's held here on the Mark Twain campus. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. I know it was a
It's at the district office.
or district office, yes, district office, excuse me. I know it was a long meeting and I appreciate everybody's patience. I knew we had a lot of things to go through tonight.
No, you guys actually